would you like to manifest more of what you desire? It's taken Victoria 2 decades to practice this, and she will teach this to you for free. And we'll share about how you too can surrender to divine manifestation so you can manifest more of what you truly desire. So Victoria Rader is the founder of You2 Shine, quantum expert and possibility coach. So Victoria, please tell us, how can anyone surrender to divine manifestation, and what does that mean?
Manifestation Empress podcast
with Lily Patrascu shares manifestation strategies to live your dream life.
You know, Lily, there is so many all right things to manifest, right? There's no wrong way to manifest, but when you don't get results, one of the two things are happening. When you're manifesting and it is not happening for you, it is one of the two things. One, you misunderstand that there are two levels of manifestation. And two, you're violating universal laws. And so there are two levels of manifestation. You can manifest for physical material world, and we can look at the system of doing that and polish that. And there is a surrender to divine manifestation that I really want to lean into, that if you surrender to, things are manifested through you and for you that are far beyond your greatest dreams for you. And that does require letting go of controlling, of having things just as you want them. So that would be the framework that I'd love to lean into today.
Tell us more.
Yeah, so when you look at, let's give practical to do immediately. I will use the Soulmate path as one of the most requested programs. You know, I have an incredible group. It's called Quantum Freedom. And one of the biggest manifestation requests there is, how do I manifest a soulmate? I would say 1 in 3 incredibly successful, wonderful women comes in and says, I want to have a soulmate. And so I'm going to use the principle of manifestation of a soulmate as a blueprint. However, you can substitute it for anything and everything. In terms of a practical, I want this, let me have it plan. So let's say you are manifesting either a practical thing, a beautiful trip, or in this case, a soulmate. You start with the quantitative blueprint. Quantitative blueprint, you're going to give 50 aspects of feeling of that particular connection. If you're manifesting a soulmate, you're going to write down 50 qualities of your relationship. Do you want to be understood in your relationship? Do you want the relationship to be kind? Now, if you're manifesting a trip to Hawaii, it's still 50 concepts. How do you want to feel when you're in Hawaii? Do you feel the sand on your feet and so forth? So you quantify with 50 aspects. That's step number 1. Step number 2, before you go to bed, you're going to pick one of those aspects. They don't have to be in the order. And you're going to say, okay, if I already had it in my life, what it would feel and look like. And as you fall asleep, it's very important, because when you fall asleep, your subconscious mind, your brain physiologically is rewiring synapses in the brain to be looking for social proof for your last thought. So if you're going to bed thinking, I should have, could have done this, you're going to have more of that disaster. But if you're going to bed thinking, kindness, I want my soulmate to be kind to me, what does it look like? For me, it is imagining that my partner rubs my feet as I'm tired and I'm falling asleep. So you are in the moment, you're seeing through your eyes. You're not imagining you're seeing you, very important. You're imagining on the receiving end of that. So step 2 is receiving the emotion as you fall asleep. When you wake up, step 3 is very important, gets overlooked, and the reason why most people live in a dream world versus translating dream world to their reality. You're going to live out of that frequency. At night, you're the frequency of receiving the kindness. Then the following morning, you're going to say, how can I live this day being the kindest person I possibly can? You become a vibrational match to receiving your manifestation. It's huge. So if you're imagining a trip to Hawaii, I love Hawaii. Hawaii is behind me. So if you're imagining a trip to Hawaii, and as you're falling asleep, you're seeing yourself at the looking at the ocean breeze. What are you feeling? Are you feeling expansiveness? Are you feeling this inner freedom? Then the following day, you're going to say, how do I support each human around me by expanding their feeling of freedom? Not being like, yeah, whatever, shut up, I'm focusing on something. We all do it, and we don't know that we do it. We all throw off our manifestation. So that is as pure of a system of manifesting anything. We've helped thousands of people, hundreds of couples to have manifest through following this beautiful system of a practical manifestation.
Thank you. Tell us where manifestation doesn't happen. So I'll give you a practical example. So let's say that I want to manifest a soulmate, but in my day-to-day life, and I intend to be very kind to everyone, but I really struggle being kind to my team. And the reason for that is because they drive me crazy. So let's say right now, only one of my staff is at work and the other one isn't. It's already 4:40 p.m. and I have already made clear that I want both of them to be here by 11. And he hasn't come and he hasn't said why. And anyway, if he had said why, he wouldn't have made things any better. I would still be angry. Okay. And then let's say that he will be editing this video, and then he will be typing your name as Victoria, not Victoria, right? For me, it would be like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. So it's like I intend in general to be kind and to spread kindness and empowerment and love and joy and freedom to people. But I feel like I cannot be kind to my team. And how does that manifest in terms of like me being unable to meet my soulmate?
I think that you've given a perfect example, because it repeats the pattern, and then you feel more stuck and you create a subconscious pattern. There's no way out, and your reality shows you there's no way out. A very practical decision and solution, and it always is the case, is when you can't change people, change people. None of us can change anyone. And so by changing the environment that is supportive of who you are, you're being kind to you. You cannot be more kind to a person than you are to you. And if you are exposing yourself to somebody in your environment that is disrespecting of you, you're teaching them that you don't deserve respect, and that is very unkind to you. So by the time we're unkind to somebody, our higher self simply says, you're so unkind to yourself by allowing somebody else to mistreat you. That unkindness to self is reflected to unkindness to somebody else. So the kindest thing in that situation is to fire and let go of the person and to reclaim your freedom. And then you say, well, yeah, but I can't afford somebody else because they were the cheapest. Like, there's a practicality of that, which is amazing. There is somebody right now, an intern, a student for the marketing program, that all they need is an endorsement. They're eager to work for free for an endorsement from an established business. And I'm just giving a practical, true advice that I have followed myself. You post it into any university that is near you. And with Global Age, most of us work online globally. I'm looking for an intern on these conditions. I will give you a recommendation for your next profession. People are so eager to work for free. That's a big subconscious shift. We don't have to pay, I'm sorry for the word, for shitty performance, when we can receive excellent performance for endorsement for free. And then if we love a person, we can actually hire them. So that's a practical thing. Things will not change until we change them. And so until we have enough respect for ourselves to not let others to be disrespected, our higher self will sabotage attracting a soulmate that will disrespect us. We already showed the universe that we don't respect ourselves. So the higher self says, no, baby, having somebody at work is plenty. Why would I bring an abusive partner into your life? So I'm going to block you off from any sustainable relationship because you don't know how to be treasured and loved and cherished the way you desire to be treasured and loved and cherished.
Thank you. How can someone eliminate self-sabotage moments that could lead onto, let's say, attracting and manifesting your soulmate, and then when they're actually there, kind of putting them off with your negative vibes or negative energy or something else that you're doing that is like not in perfect alignment with the vibration they are at?
I actually had an amazing program that I did a while ago. It was called Love Me, and we looked at 5 languages of love that people have heard about. There's a great book on it. And the big aha for most people is that we expect others to fill those languages. If people don't know what those are, there is the language of verbal affirmation, where you love when people tell you they love you and they tell you you're beautiful. There is a love language of gifts, when you feel loved when you receive gifts, love language of service, love language of quality time, and physical touch. So those are the 5 love languages that we receive and give love. We don't always receive and give love in the same language. But the step 1 for self-sabotage is learn what your love language is and love yourself in that language, because then you remove the need for somebody else to fill the gap. And when you love yourself in that language, you become a vibrational match to a soulmate who can do the same. I'll give you an amazing example. One of my incredible students, her love language was gifts. And so when we were going through this manifestation program, we sat down and we scheduled a full year, once a month, on different dates, different holidays. She booked flower delivery for the whole year out. And the flower delivery would say, "From you, anonymous admirer, you're incredible, you're loved, you deserve this." And we just planned it out. So of course, there's no way you can remember the dates for the whole year. And all of a sudden, these flowers would come into her, where so many things were happening. She was showing love to herself in the way she understood it. She was not pending, hoping for for somebody else. But the miracle came, the true miracle came, is that year she didn't receive 12 anonymous bouquets. She received 14, because towards the end of her year, there was a soulmate who first sent her a completely anonymous bouquet, almost word for word, saying, "You are so radiant. You are so lovely. When I get the guts, I'm going to tell you who I am." And of course, she didn't know which one it was. It was really gorgeous. And they're now married.
Wow, that's very fascinating. So tell us what needs to happen in the vibration, in the frequency, for someone to change their frequency so they can attract what they desire. So let's say that I value physical touch. How can I give that to myself?
Yes,
That I can attract someone who kind of gives me that too.
amazing. I love that question because it's so empowering, I think, for everybody right now. So I'm a physical touch person. So I have a cheat sheet. I have 4 dogs. That helps. I don't recommend it. That's borderline crazy, right? But you hug yourself every day. You really have to hug and hold you, and you'll have to verbalize, "I got you." And then you verbalize to your body, "I love hugging this beautiful body. What an honor it is to hold this beautiful body. Look at this. They haven't given us sign up. That's really funny." Okay. And then the rubbing is very important. When you watch TV or something else, you're going to rub your tight areas. And as you rub it, you're going to say, "I'm deserving to be relaxed. I'm deserving to be relaxed." So as you hold you, and as you teach your body that it is welcoming physical touch, that's step number 1. Step number 2, very important, create a budget for, if possible, weekly, if not at least monthly, receiving a massage. And when you're going to a massage, telling yourself, "I love myself so much that I'm treating my body with gratitude for everything that it does." Because no partner can outperform our ability to love ourselves. So the greatest block to manifesting anything is we expect somebody give it to us versus the world reflected back at us. So if I'm taking full responsibility for meeting my needs, and I know that I don't need anyone, but it would be nice to share love with someone, that opens us to a connection that is nourishing and that is loving.
Thank you. Let's say that you're already in a relationship that is relatively fulfilling, but not quite. It's, let's say, 95% there, and then there's a 5% that is missing that is absolutely crucial. what would you have someone do to make sure that they attract their 100% fulfilling relationship? Or does that even exist?
I love that. I love the question and the immediate answer that came through you because, 100% is dead or alive. You can be 100% dead and not even that, or you can be 100% alive and not even that. Um, our life is experienced as dominant frequency. So if you're 51% happy, you will actually feel 100% happy. It's really fascinating how our brain works. So let's just look at whatever the gap in relationship is. I want to give a powerful energy practice that anybody can do first thing in the morning and then see the results happening. So when you first wake up in the morning, you're going to imagine that you're holding a ball in your hands, and that's the energy. Everything is a quantum field. So imagination is an amazing quality. You hold this ball and you say, this is my relationship. We'll use a relationship. I use it for my day, for my year. We'll use it for relationship. You're going to say, this is my relationship. And it is radiant and it is beautiful. And yet I see there is a gray spot. You don't even have to name the spot. Maybe it is, I don't know, you being misunderstood by your partner. And you say, I'm going to hold this space until the energy of love and creative energy fills that gray. And you're going to imagine as the energy flows there and fills the gray. Trust me, it is not woo. It is quantum physics. It is a pure entanglement of the space. And so as you are witnessing in your mind, you're imagining the energy filling the gray. It is done for the day. You're going to just release it and move through the day. As you do it day after day after day, you're going to start noticing palpable shifts. You might not understand why they're happening, but it's important to write them down through gratitude, because what we don't appreciate, we lose. I want to say it again. What we take for granted, we lose. But what we appreciate grows in value. So let's say if your partner finishes your sentences for you and you're frustrated because you're trying to share something and they jump in the middle of the sentence and finish for you, and that is your gray areas. The first time where you're communicating something and you got a full sentence in, it is so important to write it down and say, wow, a miracle of communication is happening. I can complete my expression without being interrupted. Because what we don't appreciate shrinks and leaves our life. This is why some of the most loving relationships have potential to diffuse completely, because we take people that love us for granted.
Thank you. What about if you're missing something absolutely essential from the relationship? And generally, let's say you feel like you're okay, but something really big is missing, although it's not kind of obvious to everyone, but it's obvious to you. And you feel sort of like unfulfilled. What would you do there to manifest your soulmate? Is it that you would apply the practices that you've just mentioned in order to kind of get a different perspective on what's actually happening? Or how would you know whether to move on and look for better, or to stay in the relationship and work on it?
I think the first step is clarity of communication with your current partner, and expressing that in a way that is non-threatening and non-attacking through your need. And the language is, because of this pattern, this need of mine is not met. Are you capable, number one, and willing, number two, to meet this need? Those are two very different things. And if you're not capable, will you take necessary steps, consulting, therapy or coaching to become capable? And if they're not willing, then that is a no. So if they're not willing to meet that need, you have your answer. They're unwilling to be your love partner, and you cannot force them. But without having asked that question, we very often make an assumption that they know the difference between capable and willing, and they do not. And we might hold them when they're willing but not capable. And so by asking that, and if a person says, of course I am, I just don't know what I'm doing, then the two of you are responsible of saying, what is your capacity? How do we grow your capacity? Do you need a coach? Do we need a therapist? But without the will, without the willingness, without the desire, no relationship can become what it is potentially capable of becoming.
Thank you. How does an okay relationship block you from having the relationship of your dreams?
I think it's settling, right? If we are settling, we have a subconscious program that um, I'm here to settle versus I'm here to thrive. So the first thing I would do is doing a very powerful quantum shift on reprogramming your brain from the only way to live is to settle and to survive, and shifting it through a session to I have come to thrive. It is my birthright to thrive. And then once you reclaim your birthright to thrive versus to survive through settling, either relationship will change or their person with whom you have the relationship will change. That is virtually inevitable. In my case, I've been married for 29 years. My husband and I have gone through many quantum leaps and shifts.
Thank you. How does someone go from feeling unhappy to joyful, and through that, while kind of creating that joy, being able to all of a sudden manifest anything they desire, including a soulmate?
So I think the very first step is to know what is the most immediate block. As a matter of fact, one of our free resources, I think it's mygiftoffer.com. If you go to mygiftoffer.com, there are 50 immediate blocks and a technique to shift you out of them. That is free. That is 20 years of putting it in. So once you identify the first block, I have a bottle? I don't. But if you imagine a bottle of water and there is a cap, it doesn't matter how much love and happiness has been poured. If you have a cap on the bottle, you cannot receive. So you might want to change the environment, but it's just your inability to receive happiness. So the first step is remove the cap. And that cap is one of the blocking beliefs. The second one, I do not have the link handy. There is a free YouTube video. I'll be happy to send it to you, Lily. There are 4 centers in our brain that are responsible for well-being and happiness. There is a center for processing negative emotion. There is a center for being able to receive positive emotion. There is a center for being present here now, because most people are worried about the future, anxiety, or depressed about the past. But there's a center that has to be activated, and there's a center for the quantum flow of generosity. So unless all 4 centers are unblocked and activated, a person actually physiologically on a quantum level cannot experience happiness. And as I said, I've recorded this over a decade ago. I don't know top of my head, but if any of your listeners want to have, it is an absolutely free 45-minute activation video of the brain. I believe it was probably one of our most popular videos back then.
Thank you. So once someone was to activate these 4 centers, are they more likely to experience happiness? And for example, for me, I noticed that there are times in my life when everything is flowing, where I'm full of joy, when I am like a super attractor of things and people and situations, and everything is like it feels like I'm on cloud 9 and I'm about to explode with joy. And then other times where I'm still an attractor of amazing stuff, but they don't actually occur. They just become like possibilities. You can say like people come to me with like, oh, let's do this project, or let's do this idea, or you come and speak here, and then something falls through at the last second. What would you say tends to be the sabotaging element that kind of stops people from not only attracting what they want, but actually closing it, like closing the deal, having that long-term relationship, not just attracting and manifesting that ideal soulmate, but being able to be with them for like 20, 30 years and longer, and making anything that they want work over the long term?
And that is that progression that we've talked about, is once you master a certain level of material manifestation, your higher self gets bored. And the lower self sabotages through fear, but the higher self sabotages through non-delivery of results. And that is an indicator. Exactly what you've described is an indicator that you're now ready to surrender the manifestation to quantum alignment, that you no longer force what you think and desire, but that you surrender for the miraculous to manifest through you. And that quantum alignment is in 3 different steps. The first one, you set up a theme for a whole year. A lot of people do award. You can receive a theme for the year. The second step, for example, I will use a theme that was tender for me when in 2016 the theme came in, helping hands healing hearts. I was already doing hand-on energy healing and opening quantum healing, and I thought, oh, that's probably has to do with energy healing, right? It's obvious. And so then every month you're going to ask a question: what is my theme for the month that expands and deepens the theme for the year? And then the most miraculous thing happens every day. You ask this question, you say, what is my one question to ask, one decision to make, or one action to take to live for my theme for the month? So you surrender your vision completely. You no longer set goals. You no longer say, I have to have this, this, and that, because you've mastered that. Your higher self will not allow for you to have more of that. It expects you now to surrender to sheer miraculous. And so you're living in the moment of that present moment. And your to-do becomes that one question, action, or decision. And you're moving forward completely on faith of unfolding. And then you look back in complete amazement of things that are happening for you. And it is that surrender to divine manifestation that is the next level of manifestation. So that year, I received a guidance day after day to be maximizing like this theta healing technique. I've taken, it's crazy, in 1 year, I've taken every single practitioner and every single instructor class all over the world. I was putting things on the card and miraculously they were being paid by clients. We're talking $150,000 in 1 year, without having any to start with. It was resolved powerfully as I followed it one day at a time. And then just before he was born in December, my nephew was diagnosed in utero with 5 heart defects, 5, with a coarctation of artery where his artery was not closing, with 2 gaps in his heart, with a hole in his heart and the murmur in his heart. His valves were 2 gaps. And he was scheduled right after birth. He was hooked up to breathing mechanism and scheduled for surgery within 24 hours. And a year of practice was used within those 24 hours to avoid the first surgery. Within 3 to 4 months, his other conditions were healed. And within a year, his file now has medical miracle. And he was removed of the cardiac watch. Till this day, if it wasn't happening to me, through me, for my family, I would say that's just unbelievable. And that is a practical physiological miracle that has manifested. Now that little miracle became known in closer circle, and all of a sudden it made it into the Zero Limits movie with my heroes, with, Joe Vitale used to be my mentor and hero. John Assaraf used to be my mentor and hero. Now I'm in the movie with them. Being in the movie with them was never a plan. It was never on a goal list. It was simply a follow-up of the universal unfolding. And so incredible trips, incredible friends, incredible connections, because I have surrendered the control of the outcome of manifestation. But you cannot start there, to your point, Lily. You have to master the basic manifestation to meet your basic needs, to know that you can. And when you know that you can, and yet you cannot force more things, it is because you've mastered and you're ready to surrender.
Thank you. How can someone tap into the inner master manifester and sort of surrender to this divine manifestation? Like, what would you say is the very first thing you need to do, aside from what you already mentioned?
Accept that you're not perfect. The law of acceptance is the most important thing. Think of it this way. Everything we are to receive from the universe, we have to receive through ability to accept it and then to retain it. And there's a very powerful law of accumulation. Most of us are very uncomfortable with accumulation because the world has shown it through greed. I know I was one of those examples. If you're uneasy accumulating, and we know we are, when all of a sudden there is a $20,000 and we're like, where do I put it? Where do I put it? And we find the immediate thing and then it's all gone. And then we're back into the beautiful comfort of minus $2,000 hole that is motivating and we're, striving for more. And so there's this powerful law of 2 universal laws, the law of acceptance and the law of accumulation. So the first one is continually accepting yourself through all of your weaknesses, through all of your failures of manifestation, continually saying, I still accept and love myself just as I am, without any need for growth, is more than enough. does not block growth, it invites it because you accept it. And the second one, this earth was created through accumulation of electrons. My body has been created through accumulation. So it's becoming comfortable accumulating without feeling greedy, but waiting for divine guidance on how to give what we've accumulated versus urgency to spend any money or all energy or all resources immediately as they come to us.
Thank you. How can I stop manifesting what I don't want that comes from the old stories of whatever happened to me in the past, or the old traumas, the old people who abused me or betrayed me or hurt my feelings? How can I stop manifesting from that story and start creating a new future that is brighter and is in line with the kind of lifestyle I want to live?
I think that is probably the most powerful practical question for anyone who goes through it, because there are always going to be two ways to manifest. One is reacting and one is creating. And so the very first thing to do is that to be aware, and we become aware. I say a phrase, notice what you notice, because what and how you notice is what and how you create. So start noticing what you're noticing. Like even this conversation, how and what are you noticing? Because if you're noticing the blocks or you're noticing it through hesitation or doubt, that is what you're creating. And so notice what you're noticing and start shifting how you notice. Start by being genuinely happy for people that have what you think you want to have. That is the greatest shortcut. The greatest shortcut is find people that already have what you want and start genuinely celebrating them. Sit and be like, help me feel joy, nothing but joy for them. That is the fastest shortcut I know. When we're happy for those that have what we want, to the same degree we're happy for ourselves, we remove the blocks of manifesting through trauma and we start accepting manifesting through joy.
Thank you. How can someone heal past trauma that will enable them to manifest from a place of love and joy?
I think it's very important to find somebody you trust, working with a coach, working with a healer, working with a light worker, with somebody you love and trust. It's not that you can't do it yourself, but all of us have a blind spot, physiologically and spiritually. And denying the blind spot is what keeps us in a cycle of dysfunction. But when you say, I have a blind spot, I got what I got, and I'm going to work with somebody who will help me out of my blind spots. I have multiple coaches and multiple mentors. And that is why I believe I am continually supported, because I cannot see what I cannot see, but they can. So I think it's so important, after everything and along with everything you are doing for you, have somebody that you trust to support you on the journey, and better more than one. You can, by the way, you can trade the services, right? People will say, I can't afford it. Trade the services. There's some things you can do for them in exchange for their services. Lack of money should never be a lack of ambition, ever.
Thank you. What's the best apps, routines, or habits that someone should have who is, let's say, currently in a bad situation financially, or that person perhaps doesn't also have the right soulmate, and let's say everything is absolutely shitty right now? Well, how do you have someone go from an absolutely broken, shitty situation financially and from all perspectives into becoming this master manifester of millions, and also a soulmate to build an empire with?
So you need to know where you are, and what you've described is this survival. There are 4 levels of expansion, manifestation, and creation. They're all the same levels. And just like temperature, the temperature from 1 degree to 100 has to go through each one of them. And so in order to go through all of them, quantum leap is not skipping the steps. Quantum leap is skipping the time needed for the steps. but it is still hitting every frequency. And so the first step is to realize there are 4 stages of creation. There is survival, stability, success, and significance. So the person you're describing is in survival. So they cannot go to significance without going through stability and success. To go from survival to stability is the change of habits. To go from stability to success is a change of mindset. And to go from success to significance is a change of heart. The example we've used, you change the mindset to where you can manifest, and then you surrender your heart to divine. And so, but you start with, if you're in survival, you start with change of habits. So first you stop the drain. To stop the drain, the law of spending, you see, where do you spend your money that drains you? Stop that. Are you spending more than you're making? Stop that. Are you worrying about the future? Start being present. So you stop the drain. The first habit out of survival is looking at where you're draining yourself, your money, your time, and your resources, and stop that. That's habit number 1, stop the drain. Habit number 2, reclaim your energy, your time, and resources. And when you do, then go into changing the mindset about it. But you got to stop the drain first.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can find you.
Find us on our website, yu2shine.com, yu2shine.com, or grab that Quantum Leap ebook that I've shared at mygiftoffer.com. Probably are the 2 easiest ways to find us.
Thank you.
Follow me for more manifestation techniques.